How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another video. This time, I'm going to talk a little bit about books, and more specifically, making photography books. And even more specific than that, my first time making a photography test book. So I just got my first test book in that I've ever done. I've never made a photo book before until now. The book is called Shapes. It's about shapes. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about the experience of actually creating the book, and then I'm going to go into why I think doing this sort of thing is important and why I'm going to probably be doing a lot more of them. So for this book, I used the Blurb and Blurb Bookwrite service. It's a fairly easy software to use. It requires zero prior knowledge of graphic design or graphic design softwares like Adobe Illustrator and stuff like that. The book was very inexpensive. I think in total I paid about $8 between the book and shipping. I mocked this book up in about 2.5 hours. It wasn't a long or lengthy process. The software itself is kind of bare bones. There are plenty of options to make pretty much any kind of book you would ever want. But if you were looking for something kind of highly customizable, you might want to look elsewhere. But overall, downloading, using, and exporting the book to the purchasing portion of the Blurb software, it was really easy. And if you're gonna kind of just make a test book here and there, or kind of play around with putting your images in book format, I highly recommend using the service, especially for the price. A lot of the books, especially a lot of the cheaper books, like this trade book that I made, they come in at very, very low prices, and you can have, a good amount of them printed and for next to nothing. So after I created the book, the shipping time was a little long, but that's understandable. They're creating and shipping a one-of-one, custom product. So expect, if you're going to use the Blurb service, to, wait a couple weeks for your finished product. In terms of actual quality, I ordered a trade paperback. I have to say, I'm really, really impressed with the cover and the cover quality. I think the saturation of the, graphics of the cover is really, really good. It's nice and sharp. It looks really nice. And if I were to do like a zine, some kind of, short form book project, with a small collection, I think I would actually go ahead and use this trade paperback format again. I really do like it. I think it's a perfect size. They offer, I think, 3 sizes. I believe this was the middle size. I think the next size up is 8x10, and there's a size below this one. I did, unfortunately, order the economy, the very cheap paper, because again, I was really just looking to see if my idea worked in a body of work, printed book format. And overall, I'm not super happy with the quality of the printing on the economy paper. Some of the colors are shifted. I don't know if you can really get a good look at it here, but some black and white images have a slight greenish, bluish cast, and it doesn't look great. The overall quality is a little bit diminished in terms of sharpness on the economy paper. And this, you can see here, there's a really bad kind of greenish yellowish color cast on this photo over here, and there's a really bad greenish color cast on this photo here. That could be discrepancy between what I see in terms of files on my computer and what actually gets uploaded to the Blurb software. But again, that might be because I chose the cheapest paper they have available. I'm just gonna say that one's kind of like a wash. It's not good or bad. It's, it's to be expected when you're doing something as cheap as this. So overall, Blurb Bookwrite, good service. I think it's, worth trying out if you want to, make cheap test books to kind of play around with ideas. So the idea behind this particular test book was me testing to see if I could create or pull from my larger catalog a body of work that works based upon a single motif. And in this case, obviously, the motif is shapes. All of the images in this book have some sort of hard geometric shape in the image. As you can see here of this photo of this building on a boardwalk, you can see the, hard cubic and triangular shape of this photo. Obviously, these are great examples. You have, cubes and a sphere down here in the water in this photo. I really wanted to see if one single idea held up as the common thread between multiple photos. And it was really fun to kind of go through my catalog and see if I could pull individual photos that went along with this motif and build a body of work, a small body of work from my larger catalog. And I wound up kind of looking for different things and looking at my photos in a different way than I never really looked at them before. And it was really nice to not look at my photos as kind of one-offs, which is what I think I tend to do a lot. And I think a lot of people tend to do nowadays with how they kind of take their photo, put it on social media, and then it's kind of gone out of their brain, out of sight, out of mind. So it was nice to revisit my entire catalog and kind of pick out individual things that threaded together this body of work. And then I attempted to support that single motif with some extra visual elements. So obviously, as you can see, a lot of these pages have actual geometric shapes that are put in from the Blurb software itself. And I wanted to see if that kind of added to the experience. As you're flipping through the pages, do the existence of these shapes on the pages, do they hold up? Do they add something to the body of work? Do they take anything away? Do they work on their own without a photo? As you can see here, I did a page of just shapes with no photo. And then I added in some pages with text as kind of like a mental bookmark or chapter in the book, and kind of used it to hammer home the shapes motif. So you can see here, I wanted these pages to be quite dynamic. I wanted them to kind of stand out and stand on their own. So I used different framings for each one. And I actually quite like how these pages fit into the book as a whole. Overall, I think some things here work and some things don't work. I think because I'm using very similar aspect ratios and crops throughout the entire book, I tend to crop a lot of my photos to 4:3. And most of the photos in this book are cropped to 4:3 with the exception of a few. I think that helps a lot. I think that kind of makes the body of work here a little bit more cohesive. I think adding something like a square photo or panorama photo or something in a bit of an odd aspect ratio, I'm not sure that would have worked. I think that would have stood out in not a good way. I do, however, think that overall, if I were to continue with this idea of a singular motif carrying through the photos themselves would have to be a little more refined in terms of style. I think some of the representations of the geometry that I'm trying to show here are a little too abstract and some are a little too literal. So I think that if this idea were to really work as a standalone body of work, I would have to kind of stick with one way of doing things, either showing the shapes in a very literal manner or showing the shapes in a very abstract manner. And I think the addition of the supporting material, the text, these shapes on the page lends itself to that more literal representation of the geometry throughout the book. And I tend to like those images in this body of work more. This overall, though, is something that I'm really glad that I finally, took the time to do. It really didn't take me a lot of time at all, and I'm looking forward to making another one, and I'm looking forward to thinking ahead about the, small form one-off projects that I can make and turn them into books. I don't really have any plans to market these and sell them. These are kind of just artistic exercises for me to kind of look at my work in a different way, to see if I can make a body of work rather than looking at my images kind of standalone, and see if I can represent my photography in a bit of a different way. I just got home from a trip to the Catskills. Get subscribed, gonna do a video about that. But I've been to the Catskills several times, and it's one of my favorite places to go for like a long weekend to do some hiking. And I would love to put together a probably nicer one with nicer paper and not a trade book, but a book of my photos from the Catskills, and that would be something that I would enjoy just making and putting on the shelf and having to kind of just enjoy and revisit every once in a while. But then there's also books like this where I can explore different ideas for a very low cost. So for me, I think this was kind of like a logical next step to take my work. And I think for all photographers, it's something that's definitely worth trying. And like I said, I'm really looking forward to making more and seeing kind of what I can do with my photography in book format. So anyway, thanks for sticking around. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time. Take care.